everybody, welcome back to another Sewcialites 3 block video. Today we're working on block number 18, the Cross Current block by Sewcialites. This block is a bit challenging. It is marked as experienced. I already went ahead and made my 9-inch block off camera because it took me a while to figure out how to cut the fabrics, pick my colors, make sure everything was coordinated correctly. I'll go ahead and step through that with you. Here's what I had to do to figure this out. I had to label all the parts on the block picture. We have an A, a red C, a yellow B, and a blue C. And that's the same over here. A, red C, yellow B, blue C. And these two, we have our A, and the A is always white. That's the easiest one. We've got the outer fabric, which is also a C, and it's a blue C. The inner fabric is the B, it's a red B, and the inner fabric is a C, and it's a yellow C. It was kind of giving me a little bit of a brain twist, so to speak. I wrote everything out. For A, you're going to need 8. I wrote white. 8 is your background. For B, you have 4 cuts, 2 of each color. So in the example here for B, there's 2 that are yellow and 2 that are red. For C, you have 2 that are yellow, 2 that are red, and 4 that are blue. If you use this, it's going to help you convert your fabrics. For the 9-inch that I did off camera, I had white, brown, red, and pink. I had to change all the colors. The one I'm going to sew on camera for you today, the 6-inch, we're actually going to use the same colors. I think it'll be easier to follow. On my printout, I used the 3-inch block section to write down this in here to help me. A was background, white, so I wrote white. B, when I look up here, and you can look at your picture, there's a B, 2 yellow, and 2 red. So under B, I wrote yellow, red. When you look in your picture, C, I've got 2 red, 2 yellow. That's this cut right here. So red, yellow. And then in your picture here, there's 4 blue C's. C, 4, blue. That's how I kept track of everything. In the video today, I'm working with the same colors. Let me show you what I did for the 9-inch block in case you don't have the same colors. We have our fabric A, which is white in the picture. For my 9-inch, I had a beige background that has small dots, so I wrote small dot. I didn't have yellow. Instead of yellow, I used brown. I did have red, so I wrote red. So instead of yellow and red, I had brown and red. I just wrote the colors next to each one so I understood what I was doing. And then for the C, which is blue in the picture, I picked pink instead. That helped me keep all of my fabric straight for my cutting. I've already cut everything for the 6-inch block. Let's look at everything before we sew it together. Here's my cuts for the 6-inch block. So if you have this in front of you, you can look at the picture. We have A, which is the white. You've got 8 of these because they're on the outside corner and the inside corner. B is the center stripe. And on your picture, you have 2 B's that are yellow and 2 B's that are red. Yellow, red. For C, we have 2 that are yellow on the inside and red on the outside. So here's my yellow and my red. And then the C that we have 4 times here in the center and here on the outside, that's this print number 3. They also call it C. I used the blue alphabet C. Here's my blue. I think this is the hardest part, is making sure you've got your colors and your cuts straight. Take a little extra time. Write all over this if you need to. You can see I even wrote down here as well. We're going to start laying this out. We're going to sew on my Juki today. My featherweight has a bunch of stuff piled up next to it for the quilted farm girl and for some bags that I'm working on, and I can't really get to it. So let's start here with the block assembly. I'm not going to draw lines. I'm going to use the diagonal seam tape, but we're going to get everything laid out. We're starting with, they have the yellow B and the red C. So we'll grab the same. So whatever color you're using, it's going to be the larger B and the smaller C. So let's grab our larger B right here. I'm just going to slide this down like this. So the larger of your fabric B's and then a smaller fabric C square. I'm going to lay them down like this. And we're going to head over to the machine and we're going to sew corner to corner on both of these. So when you have your 2 fabrics laid together for this, you should see the fabric underneath. You don't want to see this. If this is what you're seeing, that's wrong. make sure you've got a smaller square on top of the bigger square. Let's go ahead and head over to the machine. Just to show you, here's what's going on over at the Featherweight. Here's my fabrics. We're over at the Juki. I have a regular foot on here and I have my diagonal seam tape. I need to sew corner to corner. As far as tips for accuracy for this, it's the same as any other block. Pinning always helps, cutting very accurately, being careful with your sewing. I always just try to do the best that I can. This looks nice. We can flip our triangle up and check it. We've been doing this before too, making sure that it's kind of what I call straight enough. Nothing's like really super crooked. I can tell I didn't do the absolute best job. It looks like my thread's a little too far over. I'm going to go with it. I just don't worry about it if it's not 100% perfect. And we'll flip that up. Good enough. I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch away and then I'll take this to my iron and go ahead and press that. You do want to press these before going on to the next step. So we're right here. We just sewed corner to corner and it shows pressing it open. I actually pressed mine out toward the red. Personal preference, if you really think you're going to want to match up all those seams, I think pressing it open will make it easier. You'll see why when we get there. So we have our corner red and a center yellow. That's the one we're working on right now. We're going to have 2 of those. See how it says make 2? And then we're going to make 2 of another color. But let's just work on this one first. Bottom corner, I need a blue C. That's print number 3 up here. So I have 1 here and 1 here. And you see how this is directional? Let's go ahead and just do them up and down like that. When I flip them, they'll be like this on the inside, which is just fine. Let's go ahead and lay them down. And then we're going to do the same thing. We're going to sew corner to corner, trim off the extra, and flip and press. Let's have a look at these. I think one of them was a little bit crooked. That's all right. That's good enough for me. That'll be good enough. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. So we're going to trim a 1/4 inch away and then press. We just sewed this unit here. Red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue. And then in my block up here, this is going to be top left corner. I'm going to place that top left and lower right. And I'm doing that because when I go to do the next corners and I use my fabric C, which is directional, I can figure out which way to put it. The next one is this one right here. So we have our red B or whatever color you're working with. And then they have us starting with the C, but I'm actually going to do the yellow first and then look at my fabric C since it's directional. So I've got the red. This is what's going to show. Here's my yellow. We'll go ahead and put that down there and put that down there. And you can turn that, you know, it's a square. But when I lay things down like the picture, it usually helps me make sure that I'm laying out everything correctly. So I'm going to have the red fabric B and the yellow fabric C. Let's go ahead and sew corner to corner. We'll do the same thing, flip and check, make sure everything looks okay before we go trim. That looks really good. This one was way over, so I actually picked it out. You can see I've got a couple loose threads. I picked out that last bit and re-sewed to make sure it wasn't so crooked. Now it looks much better down there. It wasn't even matching up. I'm going to go ahead and trim a 1/4 inch away and flip and press. The yellow is going to be on the inside. I'm going to set this here for a minute because the next one we're doing is our fabric C. So I'm going to match up to make sure all my directional prints are going the same way. I want it to look like that. That means when I lay it down, I have to lay it down like that. Then when you sew corner to corner and you flip, it'll be going the right direction. Let's go ahead and put that back down. Same thing, I'm going to take this, lay that down over here, and I'll sew corner to corner, and then when I flip, it's going to be going the same direction as these. So all my directional prints will be going the right direction. Let's go ahead and sew these 2 corner to corner. Let's go ahead and check these. When I flip it up, it'll be going side to side. Close enough. It's not perfect, but it'll be okay. I think one of these is going to be pretty crooked. Let's see, I think it was that first one. Yeah, that'll be okay when I iron it. It might be a little short, but we're going to be putting corner squares on the outside with our white, so I'm not too worried about it. Going to go ahead and trim a 1/4 inch away on both of these, flip and press. Here's the 2 we just sewed. This is a great opportunity to double check your colors before we put on our little background squares. Red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue. And if you're not using red, yellow, blue, maybe you're using pink, orange, green, whatever colors you're using, you can check. Blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow, blue. And then this should be blue, red, yellow, blue, red, yellow. All the colors are where they're supposed to be. Let's place our background squares. You can place these and sew them all at once. They're going to go in the outside corner and the inside corner. It's another reason why it's good to lay out your block how you see it there. I find it helps me make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. And you can lay out and sew all of these at once, because you can see when you sew corner to corner here and corner to corner here, nothing is sewing over anything, so you might as well do them all at the same time. Save yourself a little bit of effort. You'll want to take all of these, flip and check if you're not happy with where anything is, pick it out, re-sew it, and then flip and check again. Trim a 1/4 inch away, flip and press. There are measurements in the pattern if you want to check the measurement of this unit. I'm just going with it today. I'm going to go ahead and trim all of these, flip and press, and then we're going to lay out our block. Got everything flipped and pressed. I have my picture right here. Let's lay out our block. This corner, white, red, yellow, blue, or whichever colors you're using. White, red, yellow, blue. That goes there. I should have another one just like it, which I do. That's going to go like that. And then these two have the blue on the outside. Blue on the outside. And blue on the outside. This is where pressing open will probably help. When you go to sew these together, if it's pressed open, it may be easier to see your seam right here, like that, so you can match it up with the seam on the back side. I just am not overly concerned with it. I didn't even try to match these up on the 9-inch block. I just wanted to make sure I had it put together correctly. So this is another one of those, it's up to you how exacting do you want to be with this. If you want to be really exact, when you put them together, get in there really close, get your pins, make sure everything is lined up, add a pin, and then you would want to add a pin here as well. So it's not bad, it's just a couple of pins, so that when you open it, these seams are going to match. And same thing down here. Let's look, let's see if they match. Nope. If you really want to make sure these match, go ahead and pin. It's not bad. This one here, really close. And because it's white and white, you really don't see it. And honestly, that's not off by much. When it's in the quilt, nobody is going to notice. I'm going to go ahead and sew the bottom 2 pieces. Let's look at this one. I was more concerned with making sure I was trying to match these than getting it together straight, and I think I sewed it together a little. It's a little bit crooked. Do you see that? Whee! It's kind of like a smiley face. I'll be careful when I put it in the quilt. What you can do now is if you want to press open, you can press open. I'm actually going to finger press right here. I'm going to take this bottom one and just push that to one side. It wants to go that way. So I'll bring this to this side, make the seams nest. I'm probably going to go ahead and get a pin for at least that to hold it together. And then you have more seams to match up if you want to match up your seams. You've got right here, and then here and here. Pin for accuracy. How about we try pinning? I'm going to bet that I pin and I still don't get it quite right. Here's the back of the block, the final seam. I picked a side and pressed, and you can see this seam I pressed to one side, this to the other. That was so our rosewood nest. Let's have a look, shall we? I sprayed it with water and gave it a really good press because it was really kind of wobbly. So by spraying it with water, it gave the fabric a chance to shrink a little bit and get pressed into place. It's not that bad. It's a little off right there, but as far as does everything match up exactly? No. Does it look good? Yes, I'm happy with it. Let's grab our ruler. Remember, this is the 6-inch block. It's supposed to be 6.5 inches. It's going to be short. Yep, even sewing with a smaller seam allowance, I was using the foot without a guide on purpose, and it still ended up short. It's probably 6.25. It is. It's almost exactly 6.25 inches square, which is fine. A lot of my blocks are short. I'm going to go ahead and clean it up a little bit. Just kind of trim away the fuzzies. Let's look at the 9-inch block. Here's my 9-inch block. You can see this one has colors that are different, except for red. When I was laying this out, I did look at the picture. See the red? That's kind of where I started. And instead of yellow, I picked brown. And for the center here, I picked pink for the C that had 4, so I used pink in place of blue. I just wrote everything down there. That helped me keep track of everything. I haven't measured this one yet. Let's measure it and see how I did. It should be 9.5. That is pretty much exactly 9.25. I'm going to go ahead and leave it. Why are they coming out short? There's a lot of fabric cuts, a lot of seams. If you're watching and then sewing, I would recommend sewing with a scant 1/4 inch seam instead of an exact 1/4 inch seam. I think that'll get you closer to the exact size. Thank you for sewing along with me for another Sewcialites block video. This is block 18. Sorry this one's coming up on Sunday, a little late. We had a very exciting wildlife sighting this morning. Are you ready? This is just outside of our backyard. If you're watching to the end, you get to see the fun stuff. We had a badger this morning. Look! We've never had a badger before. We went ahead and called the wildlife center in case it needs to be relocated. It's outside our fence. It's got itself a nice little burrow. Seems pretty happy. It was not aggressive. We left it alone. They're nocturnal. It was heading in to go to sleep for the day. Will be very interesting to get the call back and see what the wildlife center has to say. Thank you for watching to the end. Please be sure to like, subscribe, share with your friends. Any comments or questions, leave them below for me. I hope your blocks turn out great. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everybody.